All right, everybody, I'm Logan Alec. I'm a CPA, and this is my update for Friday, November 27th. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, whatever you were doing. I know because of everything going on right now, many folks spent it by themselves. Personally, we spent it in a small group of 8 of us at my parents' house. I hope that whatever you did yesterday, you found it relaxing and enjoyable. And before we begin, it is, of course, Black Friday, and I wanted to share with you a way to save some money on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I'm going to do a full dedicated video walkthrough on this later, but basically, if you haven't used Rakuten, it's a cashback site. You make a purchase through the site and you get cash back. If you haven't used it before, and if you use my link in the description below, you will get $40 cash back when you make purchases totaling at least $40 in the next 90 days. So basically a free $40 to spend if you spend at least $40. There is some lag to credit the $40 bonus, right? So just be aware of that. I'm going to do a full video walkthrough on this later. Going to buy some Christmas gifts for my son through Rakuten of at least $40 just to show you how it works. But just heads up on that if you're doing any Black Friday shopping today. They are not sponsoring this video, by the way, but I do get a bonus as well if you use my link. This is actually something that my wife and I use on a regular basis when we shop online, and I thought it would be helpful to you if you're doing any shopping today. All right, on to stimulus. House won't take votes until Wednesday the 2nd. Also, Democratic Representative Richard Neal, who is the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, was on Yahoo Finance talking about stimulus. He talked about unemployment, as well as reaching a stimulus deal and more. Here's the bit on unemployment.
I want to start with an issue that you're deeply involved in on Ways and Means, and that's unemployment insurance. We have several programs that are set to expire at the end of the year. One that allows gig workers and other contractors to access unemployment benefits. The other gives 13 weeks of extra benefits to laid off workers. What are the consequences if Congress does not act and lets those programs expire?
Well, I think it's imperative that we not let them expire to begin with. But secondly, it was one of the more creative approaches that has ever taken place under the tent of unemployment compensation. We did provide a supplement, but we also included people that heretofore had not been eligible in the past for unemployment insurance. I'd go so far as to say that the CARES Act saved the American economy. Obviously, we were trying to buy time when we developed the plan and drafted the parameters of the CARES Act. But of all the provisions that we put together, I think perhaps one of the most important, if not the most sound, was the extension and expansion of unemployment insurance. I think it allowed people not only to make rent payments and mortgage payments, but it also allowed those to simultaneously embrace liquidity and create demand.
So Congressman Neal is obviously a big fan of the unemployment provisions in the CARES Act. He says he believes the CARES Act saved the economy. He pointed out specifically the unemployment benefits that were provided to those who would not typically be eligible, of course referring primarily to the PUA, which provides a form of unemployment compensation to the self-employed. Neal also said that he hopes that the current stimulus impasse could be overcome, and there might be an opportunity to attach a targeted relief package, in terms of unemployment at least, to the government funding bills. Here's the clip.
So what are the chances that those programs get expired when we've seen negotiators try to come to a deal for months now with no success?
Well, I hope that this impasse can be overcome, and perhaps that December 11th target date, when we have to put into position in place some extension of budgetary considerations, that there might be an opportunity there to attach a targeted relief package in terms of unemployment insurance. We can't let unemployment insurance expire.
This is news to me because Nancy Pelosi previously on November 18th at her weekly press conference was asked if COVID-19 relief could possibly be thrown in with government funding. She seemed to say no at that point. But here's Congressman Richard Neal, chair of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee, saying that that's a possibility. Has he talked to Pelosi about this? Or is he just trying to give some news here? I'm not sure. But nevertheless, this isn't really great news, though, right? Because he's not saying that the stimulus impasse can be overcome by the stimulus negotiators coming together and agreeing on a full stimulus bill. He's saying that maybe it might be possibly overcome by attaching some targeted, read small, relief to the government funding appropriations bills that must be passed by December 11th to avoid a government shutdown. Then Neal was asked about the possibility of a smaller deal being reached. Here's that clip.
On that issue, incidentally, I don't think Speaker Pelosi and Secretary Mnuchin were far apart. I think the Speaker wanted the supplement to continue along the lines of the $600. I think Secretary Mnuchin was at $400 or $500. So I think philosophically there wasn't really the great impasse that has been reported. I think it was more to do with the rest of the package and how extensive and how long it ought to last.
Speaker Pelosi has rejected doing this piece by piece, but if it meant getting these programs extended and dealing with maybe some of the other important issues here, would you be willing to take a smaller deal at this point?
Well, I think we want to look at this, but remember the Speaker's position was not so much that she was advocating for a larger or smaller deal as much as she was advocating for the opportunity to get this over the goal line. So the HEROES Act, which passed in May, was about $3.4 trillion. And she said, in terms of negotiation, that she would go to $2 trillion, but she wanted a shorter period of time. She wanted to get to the end of January. So I think that if you were to read something into it, where there'd be an opportunity to address a couple of these issues, if not more, that might be it.
So Neal is trying to spin Pelosi here as not advocating necessarily for a larger or a smaller deal, but for the opportunity to get this over the goal line. I'm not sure what exactly that means. Pelosi obviously has her line in the sand at 2.2, not 2 on the nose like Neal kind of implied here. And when he talked about going to the end of January, I assume he was referring to unemployment there. Then Neal, in this interview, talked about Biden's tax policy, Janet Yellen, and more. I'll leave a link to this interview in the description below if you want to watch the whole thing. That's really all I have on stimulus, but briefly, in terms of the election, now I have purposely avoided talking about the election very much recently because a lot of people unsubscribe whenever I talk about the election. So just one thing. Yesterday, President Trump was asked if he would leave the White House if the Electoral College picks Joe Biden, and Trump said, "Certainly I will, and you know that." You know that there's been speculation that Trump might not leave, that he will have to be escorted out or something like that. But he said yesterday that obviously he would leave the White House if the Electoral College votes for Joe Biden on December 14th. Nevertheless, Trump is still tweeting that the 2020 election was a scam and that he actually won by a lot. All right, on to COVID-19. We reported 103,116 cases of COVID-19 yesterday with 1,178 deaths. Also, for the first time, the number of people hospitalized nationwide due to COVID-19 surpassed 90,000. Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and Arkansas all reported record high cases yesterday. Ohio reported its second highest day of cases, and New York recorded its highest day of cases since April 25th. Dr. Fauci told USA Today that he has little hope of the COVID-19 situation improving by Christmas or New Year's. In international COVID-19 news, Austria will begin systematically testing its people for coronavirus next week, and by Christmas, the entire country is expected to have completed the first round of testing. India is setting up the first stages of a vaccine rollout plan, as is Russia. All right, everybody, that is my update for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.